6.3, presentation of an annual report on the activities of Lake County Resource Conservation District. And with us, it looks like we have Dr. Harry Lyons. And Dr. Lyons, if you'd like to come sit up front here, you can do that. You can do so. Okay. Rather than standing, yeah.
It's a better grilling seat.
Yeah.
Okay. Certainly. Over there?
Yes, either side that you prefer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and supervisors and county council, and also the staff. Thank you for this opportunity to report on the progress and problems of the Lake County Resource Conservation District. So I had a PowerPoint presentation.
All right, there it is.
There it is. And some of these slides are from Victoria Brandon, and some have been adapted by Mary Jo Velasquez, so I had a lot of help with this. And I want to start by defining what an RCD is. Every year you need to be reviewed on this, at least I do. And these are special districts of the state of California with primary authority for local conservation measures. So this isn't preservation, this is conservation. It's the use of working lands in perpetuity, some sort of sustainable efforts. We encourage sustainable efforts to use the use of our natural resources. We started out as the soil conservation districts in the Dust Bowl in 1937, and we are the local arms of the Federal Soil Conservation Service, which now is called the Natural Resource Conservation Service. And I was delighted to hear in public comment the mention of that agency. They're our fellow federal partner, and here the NRCS is represented by our district conservationist. Her name is Corinne Woodard, and she's a great help to the RCD. We have expanded our mandate from soil to fish, wildlife, fire prevention, invasive species, etc. And much of this is in response to changes in climate, so we are hip in that regard. 21st century problems, we're aware of them. Okay, next slide, please. What do we do is soil and water conservation programs, very often with our partners in Napa and Mendocino. There's a big RCDs. They often take us under their wing. Wildlife habitat enhancement and some restoration projects, especially with regard to fire damage. Invasive species management, watershed restoration, conservation planning with special respect to forestry and education. We try to make fourth graders, kindergartners, and eighth graders aware of careers in conservation and the idea that people are making a living outside using their brains and their backs, and they're enjoying it a great deal. So this is the message to young people. Next slide. Here in Lake County, there were originally 5 RCDs. They were consolidated at East Lake and West Lake in 1950s, and then consolidated again as one Lake County RCD on July 1st, 2016. That's when I came on board and soon became the president. So I'm Harry Lyons. I'm a retired college instructor, and I'm the president. Victoria Brandon. These directors, this list is from June of 2022. We have lost 2 of our directors, and that's one of the things I come to you with a request to help us find a replacement for Victoria Brandon, who was an at-large representative. And you can ask me, why would you let someone like Victoria Brandon go? And the answer is, these are volunteers, and when they want to go, they go. Victoria is now pursuing her interest in the Sierra Club structure and also the 30 by 30 program, which is the thrust by the state and federal government to have some kind of protection for 30% of our seas and lands by 2030. So that's what she's up to. The other person we lost was Bill Lincoln. And Bill Lincoln left to be closer to his grandchildren, who are in further north in California. There's no greater detriment to volunteer work than grandchildren. People are always leaving to be closer to their grandchildren. And there's a lot of grandchildren represented in this list of people. I wanted to tell you that the median age of the people on our board, now that there's 5 left, is 75. I know there's 2 people older than me, and there's 2 people younger than me, and I'm 75, so I'm the median. And so we plug away, but we need some help. We need 2 more representatives. Victoria needs to be replaced by an at-large representative, and Bill Lincoln needs to be replaced by a District 1 representative. So Supervisor Simon, I'll be in contact with you, and perhaps there's some structure in the county administration that can release an announcement of these vacancies. I know that through official channels, I did report the resignations of these 2 people. Randy Craig is the newest representative on the directors of the RCD. He is a walnut farmer in Bachelor Valley. It's very exciting to have Randy because he's the one truly ag representative. And we want to return to our roots as a soil conservation service and do more ag work. We've done some of that with Mendocino County, but we want to strengthen our ag profile here in Lake County. Shula Shoup, like me, is a retired environmental educator. She's also worked as a legal secretary, and so I rely on her for careful reading of contracts and proposals. Mary Jo Velasquez, I think, retired yesterday. She's a researcher at the Mayo Clinic, works on bone regeneration and senescence in old bones. Our associate directors are Tony Blylevin and Davis Palmer. Tony is the person who directs our Trout in the Classroom program, and Davis runs our Kids in the Creek program in the Middletown area. Next is our employees. We have 6 or 7, depending upon how you count them, employees. They're all part-time. They serve at will. They get by without any retirement benefits, without health insurance, just straight ahead part-time employment. Greg Dills, I'll deal with Greg Dills and Linda Jantunen first. Greg is not retired completely, but he's in the process of retiring. And he has every right to retire, but he is the heart of the RCD. He writes the grants, he directs the projects associated with those grants, and we have had a great deal of difficulty replacing him. It's hard to get a project manager in an at-will position without benefits. We have tried, and there are alternatives to how we're going to approach this, but Greg has really been the heart of this process. He's got connections to the EPA and the Bureau of Land Management, a long history of working with many partners. Next is Larry Ray. He's the project coordinator. He works under Greg. And Larry Ray is a plant expert and works with coordination with our partners, including, most recently, TERRA, the Tribal Eco-Restoration Alliance, and they're doing some work with us in the Scotts Creek drainage. Lori Hutchison is the fire safe coordinator. She works on grants for outreach material. She keeps the fire safe org website active. She's the one person in an organization who understands and works in social media, so she is our social media contact. Lori presently is promoting the applications for the CWDG, which is the Community Wildfire Defense Grant. This is a huge grant that's coming from the federal government that Lori is trying to alert everyone to. There's a lot of people working on getting us ready for that in the Risk Reduction Authority and in the Firewise communities and so on. Scott McLean is our field technician. He designs and sets up irrigation equipment for us in our oak reforestation programs. Alma de Paredes is our new administrative assistant, and she and I are taking training from Linda Juntunen, who has been with the district, at least as a volunteer, and often as a part-time employee since 1999. So she's seen this organization through 2 centuries, and so has Greg Dills. She was and is retiring, and she was an administrative assistant in an organization that had no administrators. So this means there's quite a lot of work. When you're an assistant to no one, you would have to pick up quite a burden. And so that's what she's been doing. Laurel Bard and Christina Linder are not our employees, but they are our Civic Spark Fellows, and they form an important link between the RCD and CLERC, the Clear Lake Environmental Research Center. And I'll mention CLERC again. They're, along with Napa RCD and Mendocino RCD, CLERC is an important partner in us getting things done and surviving. Next slide. There are smaller projects that the RCD takes care of. These are all projects that generate no revenue, but that are undertaken by the directors for the most part. One is an annual weed tour. The RCD is a member of the weed management area in Lake County, and we have a weed tour every year at Anderson Marsh. We have 2 programs for 4th graders, Field Days in the Creek, which takes place with students from Minnecannon and Coyote Valley, and Kids in the Creek, which takes place with 4th graders from Upper Lake and Lakeport. And again, as I said before, this is a series of presentations to these children by conservation specialists, geologists, park rangers, federal foresters, botanists, entomologists, and so this is an exposure of these kids to what careers are possible in the field of conservation. We also reach out to college students through the Frank Meisenbach Scholarship. These are $500 scholarships available to students who are undertaking any work in conservation and natural resources, including fire science and anything related to fire science. You don't have to go to college. If there's a training program that involves doing something outside to help the resource world, then the Frank Meisenbach Scholarship is available to you. Next comes the Trout in the Classroom, and that is a program, as I said, run by Tony Blyleven, and Tony manages to have 8 classrooms with trout eggs raised to fingerlings, and so there's about eight teachers and 8 classes. K through 8 is the age group on this, and the trout the eggs are brought into aquaria in early March, and then they're released into Blue Lakes and to Puda Creek in May. So I have next slide, please. These are the larger projects. I wanted to hit the acreage involved and the money. We're going to soon turn to concerns about money. This Caltrans oak mitigation at Trailside Park involves 7 acres. There's a possibility that it will be expanded, but it is 7 acres over several years, $600,000 from Caltrans for mitigation. Valley oaks and blue oaks, all through Trailside Park that was burned devastatingly in the Valley Fire. This year, I expect revenue to the tune of about $65,000 from the Trailside Park project. Next is a new project, and we just signed the contract with Caltrans for oak mitigation at the Westlake Road, Highway 29 near Upper Lake, and this is less than an acre, but it involves some extensive culvert rehabilitation, not only planting of trees, but shrubs and also native grasses, and that is a $113,000 project over several years. and expect a revenue of $20,000 from that this year. Next are 2 forestry programs. This is the work of Tom Bendor, our forester, who works for the RCD, and it's from the California Association of Resource Conservation Districts in coordination with the Natural Resource Conservation Service. And the other program is from the National Association of Conservation Districts, and this comes through NAPA. So the money is passed from the NRCS through NAPA RCD and then comes to us. This strengthens the bond between NAPA RCD and Lake County RCD, and involved in this second one also is clerk. So they are in some ways finding locations for Tom Bendor to do healthy forestry planning that involves mostly fire recovery. So the vast majority of the 900 acres that Tom deals with each year, and he's done this for three years, deal with fire recovery. Not all of it, but most of it is fire recovery. It involves downing the trees, scattering the debris, and possible replanting. So that is the forestry program. Over the years, over the last 3 years, has been an input of $150,000 from these organizations. This year, I expect that we will gain about $50,000 in revenue. Then there is the CDFA goat shrew eradication program. I'll show you a picture of goat shrew in a moment. It's an invasive, non-native, sounds like someone from New York like me, but it's a problem. It's poisonous to livestock, and it overtakes natural vegetation. CDFA grant is in the past for about $60,000. We expect about $22,000 more revenue this year from that. Lake County Fire Safe Council coordination grant is with Lake County of Lake, but the money comes from Title III, the Secure Rural Schools Act. It's federal money that's passed through, and we're grateful for every penny. We do not spend every penny. We spend about 2/3 of what the county makes available to us every year. Every year there's $27,500 available, and we spend generally a little over $20,000 of that. This is often the case with small special districts, especially RCDs. We get money, we have difficulty using it all, and there's nothing more frustrating and debilitating than not using the money that's available. Next page, please. I wanted to show you some pictures. These are some baby trout being reared in an aquarium in Coyote Valley, and so they are raised from eggs to fingerlings and then released. Next slide. This is the release site. One of the release sites is Blue Lakes, and there are those kids releasing the trout. Next one. This is goat shrew. Its other name is Professor Weed, which is kind of stinging. That's its name. The next slide shows Trailside Park. This is a photo from 2018. There's been 2 reforestation efforts, one by volunteers in 2017 and 2018 with ponderosa pine, purchased and managed through the RCD with money from the Rotary clubs in the Lake County area, with money from the wine consortium. The wineries and the vineyards had an organization that raised money for recovery. And so this was an effort to replant ponderosas. This was followed by professional planning by the RCD through Caltrans mitigation in 2021, and we'll continue that work this year in 2022. Then I have a future project, which we've just submitted the grant to the Department of Fish and Wildlife, in coordination with California Association of Resource Conservation Districts and with property from the Lake County Land Trust. So the RCD can work on federal lands, They can work on state lands, they can work on local public lands, and we can work on private lands. So these lands are owned by a nonprofit, Lake County Land Trust, and what's involved is this is a 200 piece of property that the Land Trust has acquired in the last 2 years, and 50 acres of this, the RCD, in cooperation with these other organizations, wants to establish hydraulic connectivity with the lake. And what that means is a small little model of what we're trying to do in Middle Creek, in the Middle Creek restoration area, breaking down levees, allowing the lake to spill into shallow areas and reestablishing a wetland. How big a wetland? About 50 acres, and about 17 acres of that expensive planting of Scenoplectus. And Scenoplectus is tules, the hardstem bulrush. And so it's always a pleasure to mention tules in Lake County. These are pelicans off the shore there on the right property. Pelicans are huge birds. They, in my opinion, are the heaviest birds in Lake County. And they are 2,000 times the weight of the tiniest bird in Lake County, which is Anna's hummingbird. And I mention that because I've always been amazed at how they can stay aloft. And the last part of this has to do with how does the RCD stay aloft. So if I can have the next slide. This is the story of the money. And what you see is in the last fiscal years, which in years, by the way, where I was presiding over the organization, we've had a reduction in revenue. Why? Well, Greg was making an effort to retire. And as I said, he's got a right to. So there were fewer grants, and we couldn't seem to hire anybody to help us with grant writing, project management. So the revenue dropped, the net income dropped to the point where we had net losses. And then our total worth, our fund balance, which is, in my mind, essentially what we're worth, has dropped from 118,000 to 84,000. You are aware of this problem in small districts and small counties. We have the same fixed cost as large organizations. So our RCD, which is shrimpy, is paying about the same for insurance than any other district would pay, $6,000 perhaps. We pay for an audit, $5,500 every year. What comes from that audit, as you know, is the assurance that we are following proper bookkeeping practices. We're losing money, but we're doing it properly. And the other thing is the bookkeeper. It's about $7,000 for a bookkeeper, and the administrative assistant will make about $15,000. So these are things that are not directly tied to grants. This year, I expect revenue into the district of $205,000, about $250,000. And we only get for overhead about 10 to 15% of that. And so we're cutting back, we're trying to save as much money as possible. Our actions are to hire or contract for a project manager, and that $200,000 figure has some $40,000 set aside for a part-time project manager. My problem is that it's not a part-time job. So we need someone full-time to bring this organization around. What we can do, and what is a viable option, is for us to contract with an organization for grant writing, project management duties. This would be with Napa County or with Mendocino County, or probably most importantly and clearly most efficiently with Clerk. They know the area. They have 5 full-time employees who are capable of doing the tasks that we require to do. The problem with that is that we can't run a profit if we send our basic jobs, our basic duties to a contractor, but it's something we need to do in the interim. We can continue and expand our partnerships. The Napa County RCDs is very happy to work with us. So is Sonoma and the RCDs in the Valley. They're always looking for regional reach out. It makes their grant applications more attractive and their bottom line sounder. We can also consolidate or dissolve. I think that the County of Lake deserves a resource conservation district. There are things that RCDs can do that other organizations cannot. Consolidation is tricky. Although Napa and Mendocino are happy to partner with us, actually marrying us is quite a different thing. So the other option, the worst case scenario, is a dissolution of the district. If you look at that last column, the fund balance column, maybe we'll eat up $20,000 in our net worth. We have about 5 years to get it together. And there may be ways that the county can help us. There are ways we can discuss that. We have some time and we have some talent, but as I said, we need someone full time. There's a lot of money coming down through the infrastructure bill, and we have experts to help us. It's just a matter of keeping our ears and eyes open and accepting help when it's offered to us. I want to thank all the staff at the county who have kept me out of trouble, particularly Marcy Harrison at the Auditor Controllers, and Kathy Sutherland and Danielle Dizon and people like that. I want to thank Matthew Rothstein for his patience and encouragement in our volunteer work on the CWPP. I want you to know that in the outreach process, I'm available to explain how the current CWPP was constructed. We kept very careful track of the fire-adapted communities guidelines. We're aware of what function that document is supposed to fulfill, and we want to follow through and help Matthew or the new climate change person make progress on the adoption of that document and many other documents that are required. So thank you all, and thank you again for your patience and your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Lyons, for that report. And I see we have a question by Vice Chair Pyska.
Thank you, Dr. Lyons, and thank you so much for your work. Your board does an incredible amount for our county. We can't lose our RCD. And even as we're looking at the funding that's coming down for forest health and fire prevention through CAL FIRE from the state, that funding is intended to go through RCDs and fire safe councils. And we don't have, we struggle in both those areas in our county. So it's really important that we figure out how to make this work. And we'll all start looking for replacements for those board members and hopefully try to figure out how we can energize your board with some younger directors. And so how long have you been doing your recruitment for this person that you're looking to hire?
Since January.
Since January? Yeah. And have you gotten very many leads?
We had one person that was interested, and when they saw the extent of the work and that it was a part-time job, they were the ones that really alerted us to the fact that we need.
It needs to be full-time.
We have requested from clerk a scope of work as to what they would be able to do for us in the interim. And I have mentioned further cooperation with the Napa folks, but they haven't gotten back to me. So that's what's happening there.
Yeah. And the Napa and Mendocino RCDs are very strong, and their support is necessary too to help us get through this.
And they have a history of helping us with our ag endeavors. So we're looking to reach out to them.
Go ahead, Supervisor Sabatier.
So one of the things that I'll look into, I'm not sure if it'll fit because you are a special district. You're not a Lake County agency under the County of Lake itself. But I know that CSAC, with President Valenzuela from Siskiyou County, who's now the lead at CSAC, is really trying to help out rural communities. And CSAC's project currently, and I haven't heard that it's been accomplished, I know the RFPs went out, was to coordinate grant writers for rural counties so that we can utilize that free service through CSAC. Maybe there's a way for creating a relationship where you can have that access. So let me have that conversation with CSAC. That's one of the things that I'm thinking of taking out from this presentation and working on to see how it is that we can connect the dots.
Thank you.
Because that helps us, but we still need you, and I agree with Vice Chair Pyska. We need RCD to remain solid and providing the services that you have been providing, and if we can even enhance that, that would be even better.
Supervisor Simon?
Yeah. Talking about filling the board seats that you have, obviously will help in my district, but I know we've done press releases. Is there anything we could do to get it out there to get to the public? Because not many folks, and maybe you've already done this, but maybe we can send something out and say, we're looking for those seats to be filled, because I think that's very important, replacing those. So getting that announcement out there is real important.
Thank you. And thank you.
And for the board seat, you have a member at large, right? That's anybody, anywhere?
There's one member at large and one district one.
Okay, and what are the requirements? What are you looking for in that person?
Someone who is willing to get involved with natural resource, someone who is willing to make difficult decisions in a financially threatened organization. It's a very satisfying job in a sense that it is not thankless at all. Everything we do, people are grateful for what we do. It's remarkable that way, but it is the government, and I know that any government entity brings challenges for people that are new to it. So, but it is a challenging position.
Okay, all right.
What's the time commitment?
We meet once a month, and then there are subcommittee meetings maybe twice a month.
Well, I know I'll be on the lookout.
Okay.
And I think we all will be. And so yeah, is there anything else from the board? Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Dr. Lyons. I actually did meet, I want to say about a month ago, with some folks from NRCS in some areas, Blue Lakes and Upper Lake, of course, as you heard in the beginning of the meeting.
Right.
And so I still have to do another tour with them. If you'd like, I can invite you along that way to get your insight. It always helps.
Yeah, I would like to do that. I would like to get out. I've never seen those trout. I've never seen that goat's fruit flower. I've never seen those kids. I'm always writing resolutions, transferring budget transfers, and checking of the checks, and so you get involved with all this administrative stuff. But if you drag me away, I'll love it.
I will. I'll hold you to that.
One more thing.
Go ahead.
The CWPP was a massive undertaking, and I can't let this opportunity go past without thanking you and your team for that. We're getting close to the finish line with it, but I mean, that was big. And you were dedicated, coming to all of the meetings and reporting out, and
Yes,
thank you for that.
It was Linda Juntnan and Laurel Bard, and also the Christina were involved with that, and so we're happy to get that done. It's svelte. It's skinny with a lot of links to updated sites. So it's a modern piece of work. We're very proud of it. Thank you.
But it's critical for our county to have that, so
The
thank
heart
you.
The heart of it is a list of projects that are stated as having community support, and that's what the grant providers need. Here's a list of projects. The people are behind us, including the tribes. So we're ready to go.
Yeah, and just let us know how we can help you and support you, and if you need anything, just open lines of communication so we can figure out how to get you to place of strength that we need you to be.
Okay, thank you all.
Well, I know we're in touch with you quite frequently about Middle Creek, so we appreciate your work there too, so, yeah.
Thank you all.
So I'll open it up for the public in case there's any questions. Anyone in the chambers that would like to comment on this item on the agenda? And if not, I know I see someone on Zoom, and Betsy Kahn, if you would like to unmute, state your name for the record, and we'll go forward from there.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Betsy Kahn, the Essential Public Information Center. I'd like to ask a couple of questions. First of all, this is not something that was in your list, and that we do love the RCD. There's no question about it. That's a very important organization to this county. The Department of Water Resources Invasive Species Coordinator, Angela Dow, has talked a lot about the gray area, if you will, of non-aquatic invasive species that are now occupying that part of the shoreline that is accessed or exposed to the air because of the lake level going down. It's a whole different animal. We've never had this problem discussed here before, but it's invasive species and it's land-based. It's, I just wonder if the RCD could maybe help sort that out. We really need to do that. The other thing is that back in 2010, Greg Dills was the coordinator for the Clear Lake Integrated Watershed Management Plan as a contractor for the Department of Water Resources to the RCD, and that document desperately needs to be updated and completed. It only covered 3 of the 18 major tributaries that run to the lake, and the need to do that is identified in the West Side Integrated Regional Water Management Plan, and Angela Dow knows about it. It's been discussed at the Blue Ribbon Committee, but those are just 2 of the things I think that we would be really grateful to have your help with. Thank you.
Okay, so it's the interface between aquatic environment and the terrestrial environment. That's one thing, and then the other is the update on the watershed plan that Greg did in 2010.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other public comment? I'm not seeing any hands up, so I will bring it back to the board and close public input at this time. And thank you again, Dr. Lyons, for the report. We'll be reaching out to you for support on what you've asked, and I know that we're all going to be searching as well to help.
Yeah, and I'll be looking for that District 1. I'll be in contact.
Thank you very much.
All right.